Hi, I'm Gaby.
And I'm Ariana.
And this is She's Fruitful. We talk about all things Jesus, experiences that we've had, and insights.
And today we're going to be talking about dating with intention. If you want to learn how to date with intention, hear our perspectives, see how you can guard and protect your heart in dating, this episode is for you.
Yeah, so we really want to talk about dating with intention, purpose, and really what the dating process is about. I feel like the Bible doesn't really talk about it. And so it's like kind of confusing how to go about the dating process. So we're going to talk about it. And I'm so excited for it.
Yep. And if you like our podcast, be sure to support us by liking and subscribing. It's so helpful to us. And we love you guys.
Yeah. And if you want to help and donate and support us, the link is going to be in the description below.
So how was your week?
Okay, yeah, let's talk about what the people want to talk about. I was sick.
That's what we want to talk about. Why were you sick? What happened?
I don't know. I went to this new place and I had their chicken and it looked fine. But I woke up at 3 a.m. and I felt really sick. So I was a sick girl yesterday.
You probably had food poisoning. That's no joke. I've had food poisoning before, and it lasted like 3 days. So, girl, the fact that you're here today,
praise the Lord.
Praise God, praise Jesus.
So yeah, that was my day yesterday. But Ari came by and dropped me off soup and Pedialyte, and it was so cute. But I was dying.
You were still beautiful.
Aw, thank you. I opened the door and I was like,
"You're like, don't look at me." I was like, "Gabby, it's okay."
Like I was like, "This is me in all my glory, right?"
Yeah. Well, it's okay. Me and Gabby have a very good relationship. I have been dealing with a little bit of heartbreak lately, and she called me and she's like, "Hey, I'm at your door." She had flowers, a candle for me, and I opened the door and I'm like, I'm not a pretty crier either.
No,
so,
you're a pretty crier.
You think so?
Yeah. I am not a cute crier at all. Like no shade to Kim K, but have you seen the one meme with Kim K and it's like her crying? Yeah, that's me. That's literally me. I'm not a cute crier. I asked Rick, I was like, do you think I'm a cute crier? And he was like, I'm gonna be so honest with you. You're not.
I'm gonna let you know right now. Hey, that's a good man.
He's honest.
Someone who's not gonna lie to you. Yeah, for real. That's good.
I was like, okay, now I have to practice my crying.
And I love people who are honest with you, especially your partner who just cares about you long term. It's never to hurt you, but
it's like to be honest. Yeah, I do want a partner and friends around me to tell me how it is. Not to if I look horrendous that day with the outfit or something. If I think a wedding dress is cute, I don't know. You want people to be real. That's why I have for when I go to get my wedding dress, I'm bringing the most transparent and honest people to tell me no, you don't look good in that. Yeah. Okay, so I first want to start that dating doesn't mean you're in a covenant with a person. Does not mean that that person is your wife or your husband. You're just dating to see if that person is going to be the person for you for the rest of your life. Until that person has made the commitment, got down on one knee, gave you the ring, that is not your husband or your wife, right? And until you say I do at the altar, basically. Exactly. I'm not saying that. So basically, you're single until then. But I'm not saying that you can go around and disrespect the person that you're dating, talking to whoever you want. That's not what I mean. I'm saying don't get lost in the relationship. Don't forget about your intentions, your calling, your purpose, who you are, why you're here on earth. Because once you get married, that is union. And marriage is kind of symbolic to the relationship Jesus had for the church. And it's the closest we're ever going to be to God in that sense. You are one with that person. So what I'm saying is don't forget who you are and don't do everything and give everything to this person when you're not married.
Yeah, I feel like it's really important to guard your heart. And especially in that dating season, for me, what I have learned is that the dating season is used to get the hard stuff out of the way. A lot of people use the dating season as this is the person I have fun with, happy, we take pics and this, all that, but we forget all the hard stuff. And then you have struggling marriages because you date that person or you marry that person, you either get your heart broken a year later because now you're trying to, figure each other out, and you realize that, hey, our morals don't align, our foundation doesn't align, we don't believe in the same thing, we don't want to raise our kids the same way, and you guys end up bumping heads. Dating, get those hard conversations out of the way to see if you guys are compatible before you get your heart involved, because once your heart is involved, it is so painful. You'll end up staying in a situation way longer than you should, or justifying things that you should never justify. So yeah, protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, so there's a Proverbs, it's Proverbs 18:22, and it says, he who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. So it says finds a wife. That means you already have to be a wifey material before you're found, right? So I know that can kind of sound kind of confusing, because it's like, how can you be a wife? And being a wife does not mean, I'm talking to the ladies here, it does not mean that you go and sleep with that person to prove that you love him and you care for him and that you want to be with him for the rest of your life. Because we have seen time and time again where the man leaves and doesn't value you because you put out, right? You're like, Christ. I'm just like, dear.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I actually saw this video on Instagram, and it was this guy, he was having a really serious conversation with his girl, and she's just like, I'm not doing that, like, you're not my husband, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And he like sat down, held her hand, and was like, look, why do you want to marry me? And she's like, well, because of how you treat me and how you take care of me and how you provide for me and how you love me. And he's just like, that is something that a husband does. And same thing for the wife. Like, you want to be the support, the helper, the gentle, the quiet, the loving spirit that can lift him up. And you already, that's your character. You already worked on being this person that, does all these like little things that a wife would do in order to, it's like you date to marry. I feel like that's the definition of dating with intention, is I'm dating you, I'm choosing to date you, not to waste your time, not to not to be comfortable, but because I see you as someone that I would spend my life with and have children with and grow old with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being a woman is a wife is somebody who fears the Lord, who loves people, who cares for people. I feel like nowadays we see so many people just saying like, oh, I hate going out. I hate people. I hate doing all this stuff. And it's like, oh my goodness, like, you have so much hate in your heart. Yeah. I that's something like I've been noticing recently, that people are very like, I hate people.
Everybody's so easily to be offended. It's not like living in harmony with one another. It's like either you agree with me or I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And it's the woman who works hard. She's the go-getter. She loves her family. She treats her family with respect, with love, and she takes care of them. It's the Proverbs 31 woman. And this woman, you don't have to be exactly down to the T like her, but she should be an inspiration. It's like a woman in your life that you aspire to be, that you looked up to her, that you want to be like her. And I never want to put that like that's exactly how you have to be, because we all have our own things going on. But she is the inspiration. We should admire her and look up to her. And that is a wife. That is a wife of noble character. So that is something we have to aspire to be. And that's what it's kind of talking about. When you find a wife, that's who it is. You have to be in your own race. You have to be doing your own things. And then when you find somebody that might be of interest, then be a wife for that person.
That's so good. Yeah, I kind of want to touch on actually like Ephesians 5. I feel like Ephesians 5 really goes into like relational things, but it also says how both the man and the woman should be. So Ephesians 5:3 says, but among you there must not even be a hint of sexual morality or of any kind of impurity or of greed, because this is improper for God's holy people. Nor should there be any obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving. For of this you can be sure, no immoral, impure, or greedy person, such as an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no one deceive you with empty words. Because of such things, God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them. So I feel like, yeah, it's heavy. It is super heavy. Sometimes I read these things and I'm like, man, but it's not saying like, you have to be this or you're not going to be accepted, you're not going to be inherited. It's like everything in the Bible is for your protection, for your heart, to guard yourself, because all these things lead you astray. When you get caught up in this lifestyle and like we talked about it last week, practicing these things, when you become this person, it pushes God away, because God is holy. He cannot stand in the face of sin. So when we're choosing sin, we're choosing these things over character, over God, over your purpose, it will wind up hurting you and leading you astray. And eventually you'll be at the end of your life and you'll miss out completely. So that's why choosing a partner is probably the most important. After giving your life to Christ, after making that choice, the second most important choice you will ever choose is the partner that you choose to be with and that you choose to live this life with, because it could either take you away from your calling or it could bring you towards it, and you guys can both chase God together. Gaby actually told me this thing about, I'm going to let you say about that chase. You learned it from a pastor when you guys are running.
Oh, basically you're running a race. Okay. You're running this race. You're doing everything that you're called to do. You know your purpose, you know your mission. And then this guy's running up next to you, and he's running and he's running and he's running right next to you. But don't start looking left and right. You can't start getting distracted. You have a calling, you have a purpose, you have everything that God is calling you to be. Don't forget about that. And if once you see the man is keeping up with you, or even if he's going further and he's leading you, then that is the man for you. That is the man that God has prepared for you. And something you were talking about, impurity, and like just not impurity, but like purity. If the person that you're talking to can't wrap their heads around purity, and you're talking to this person and you're talking about like, oh yeah, I want to wait for marriage, and they literally cannot wrap their heads around that, like, oh, I can't do this with you.
No way. Sorry. I won't date you unless you sleep with me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. With that mentality,
boyfriend
like,
and girlfriend, do
yeah,
this.
I was dating somebody who literally told me that they would break up with me if I even thought about like waiting for marriage, wanting to go celibate, because that they couldn't live without that. And that is very, very common in the secular world. Like it's just very common that everybody just sleeps around.
You find
and it's
an idol in sex. Yeah.
And so that was an idol for that person. And you can't idolize anything else. You have to love God and worship God. And if that person doesn't understand it, don't waste your time, because nobody has time to convince somebody to be pure and to explain to them why you want to wait for marriage. Nobody has time for that, because purity is so important, and purity is so fruitful because it shows that not only yourself but the other person can be obedient, can be that has self-control. They are disciplined and they love the Lord with all their heart. Yeah, and they're committed to that, because if they can do that, imagine how much fruit is going to be within your marriage. So I promise you, somebody that can't even comprehend purity, and again, purity isn't just sex, but this is what we're talking about. Purity is everything else that you do with your life, and like who you surround yourself with. But sex, like, that is something that you will definitely see if somebody is disciplined, they have self-control, they have obedience, and you want a man and a woman who are they have self-control. Like, that is one of the most important things in a marriage, to have discipline, obedience, patience. Patience is so beautiful, because that's when you really reap what you sow.
Yeah, I saw this footnote in the Bible, and it was talking about, like, when someone is in rebellion against God off of their guidelines for sex, because it's something that we all like. Me and you both, Gabby, had to like let that part go, because die to ourselves, and dying to yourself's not easy. It's uncomfortable, but it's about the fruit that you're going to reap. And when you think about it, there's that whole, like, why buy the cow when I'm getting the milk for free? Yeah. And if you're already giving this man everything, you're already giving him your whole heart, mind, body, soul, space, like, you have nothing to save for your husband. That's something that I kept getting convicted of in my past relationships that I fell sexually, I'm already giving someone who hasn't even made that commitment, who doesn't even understand that. And that is your body. That's your temple where your Holy Spirit dwells. It literally says, like, you're going to defile yourself, and then you're defiling your marriage bed. Like, I started to feel like I'm cheating on my husband. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be this. If I do this, I'm literally cheating on my husband, who God has prepared for me, that I've been praying for, and that's like such a slap in the face. Imagine if he's waiting And then you get to marriage and you have this whole body count, and it's like, dang, there's nothing for me. Nothing special you say for me, huh?
So let's talk body count. So Ari, imagine you are talking to this guy or you're dating him, but you were born. Okay, hold on, backtrack. So imagine you are a born again Christian and you've had a past, right? But now the guy that you're dating really, really hounds you about your past. What do you think about that?
I think that they're probably also not really right with God. I think it goes both ways. Like, if I'm doing something to make him feel like I'm going to be my past again, like, and he's having like insecurities, then I think that's something that I need to address and talk to him about. But I think that he also wouldn't understand forgiveness. And I would ask him if he has a past. Like, do you have a past? And then also, like, is this something that you can get over? Yeah. Like, is there something that I can do to help you cope with this or help you to understand this? Because if we can't have this tension in our relationship, we can't have war over my past, because it is my past and it's my past for a reason.
Your testimony.
Yeah. And if I'm no longer living that way and there's no resemblance of that in my life at all, then you either have to choose to forgive me or you're just going to have to depart. Yeah. Because like I can't change your mind. Like, my job is to love you, to care for you, to respect you, to be a woman that you can depend on, have no worries in the world, that you can know that you're coming home to a safe place and a good environment. And if none of that outweighs my past, then I'm not the problem.
No, but it's so true. No, literally though, it's very true. And I think that, okay, people have preferences. If you want a girl or you want a guy that doesn't have a past like that, then don't even attempt with somebody that you know that has a past, right? So, and if you are dating somebody that has a past, you have to accept that, because why are you going to be with somebody and continue to make them feel bad, to remind them of who they used to be? That's the accuser. That's bringing up your past, and that is not somebody you want to be with. I was literally talking to my fiance about it, and he was just saying, like, that concept is so silly, because if you're gonna date somebody and you don't like their past, why did you even try? Why are you trying? If you can't get over it, don't even attempt it. If that's your preference, then so be it, right? But don't go and date somebody knowing their past and make them feel ashamed about it, because we have all had things that we had to change from. At one point, God has touched every single one of our hearts and had to change us and transform us from many different things, not just purity, but like things that we've all have dealt with at some point in our lives. And we're not going to go and make you feel bad about it. So don't make the person that you're dating, that you want to care about and all this stuff, and make them feel bad about what, before they even met you, before they even knew you existed, right? So,
and think about it too, like, you don't know how people grew up. Unfortunately, that unfortunate truth is that a lot of people grew up only hearing, hey, safe sex till marriage. Nothing else, not why. And some people didn't even hear that. Some people hear, go get them, son. Like, that's what you do. It's like a good thing. And they're raised like that, or they just have never heard of anything better than that. And it's going to be carried through. And that's why I say, like, if they're not practicing these things anymore, like, if they're truly not this person anymore, and they want no part of it, that they understand the consequences of it. They understand how destructive it is. They understand that that's not who they want to be. That's not who God called them to be. Like especially talking to Christians, like, because we should be equally yoked. We should be dating other Christians. So you have to understand how much Christ forgave you for, and he renews your mind, body, and soul, and he helps you to not conform to the patterns of the world. And he's also going to be doing that to your partner. So to hold on, exactly what Gabby says, you can't hold someone to this standard when you had to go through the same thing.
Yeah. And that's why the dating phase is to figure out their character, who they surround themselves with, everything that comes with dating. And if you can't get over a certain thing, or you're like, you have a list. We all have like things that we want to check off, like, okay, they're teachable and they love the Lord and all these things. If they don't like we should all have a list, right?
Yeah.
But if you can't get over something, don't even continue and make that person's life miserable because of something that they did in their past or something that they're dealing with. And you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't hold them to a certain standard. I think the dating phase should be something where you are choosing and seeing if this person is going to be meant for you for the rest of your life. And in those moments, like, I feel like dating, a lot of people date with just to date because the person's cute, because the person's funny,
or you don't want to be alone or anything like that.
Exactly. So dating with intention is like, is this the person that's going to be there for me when stuff hits the fan? Like, is their faith as just strong as mine or going to lead me?
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like it's so true that you should know that quickly. Like, I feel like in that first like month, 2 months, like you by then can see how a person handles situations. You can see how they think. You can see how they react to their parents, to their friends, to their siblings. I feel like
so important.
Yeah, you don't have to waste so much time. And I get it because I was this way. When I invest into a person, I love very, very hard. So if I'm investing into you, I will stick around. You will drag me to the mud and I'm going to be like, okay, can we talk about this? But you don't have to do that. Like, that's why it's so important to wait, because once you attach yourself, and that's true investment, attaching yourself in that way, like sexually, like you will stay where you'll keep putting question marks where God puts periods.
Yeah.
And you will stay where you're not supposed to be, where God has clearly told you to remove yourself from. And that's why we don't get our dating advice from social media. We don't get our dating advice from movies. We get our dating advice from principle, and that's principle of the Bible. You don't have to wonder if he is for you because you'll be able to see it. You'll be looking through at this person with the same lenses that God looks at through this person. And it's not, righteous judgment is a thing. I'm not judging you like, ugh, like gross, like this. No, I'm saying like I see where your values lie. I see how you think about things. I see like let's even take cursing, for instance. Like if you're like, hey, I'm trying to watch my mouth, you know, and I'm really not trying to talk like that anymore. And they're just cursing up a storm and not respecting that, at least about you or the music you listen to. I'm not trying to listen to secular music anymore. I gave that part up, not because I don't like it, but because I really, really want to honor God with my life and with my mind and with my temple. And they give you a hard time about that, and they don't want to compromise. They don't want to understand you, or the movies that you watch. Yeah. If it's all these sex scenes and movies and all this, and you're like, man, I'm trying so hard to be pure. I'm trying so hard not to let these things in my mind, and they don't want to respect that about you, then, I mean, I think those are obvious signs that might not be where you should be, because that tension, you can always clearly see tension. And that's the last thing that God wants for you, is to be in a relationship where you're stressing all the time. And if you're dating someone and you're in your prayer time with God and you're like, God, please help them to see, help them like change how they live, like help them to realize that this is wrong and like this isn't aligned with your truth, that is a direct indicator that you are asking God for something that God has not prepared for you. Yeah. Because if God prepares it for you, you're going to know, what do you look at when you get into a relationship? You look at the fruit. If you have love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, like those godly characters, those godly attributes, you know you're where God wants you to be. But if you have anxiety, if you have tension, if you feel anxious and worried all the time, or that you just feel like you're constantly like butting heads, that's not something that God wants you in.
That was so good. I think that if you're praying to God for him to change this person and for him to make him realize that he needs to be aligned with your word and with his word and everything, that we ask for signs, that is a direct sign. Like, that is the sign.
Like the meme where the sign smacks you in the head and you're like, oh, I didn't see that, God, one more, please.
Yeah, and if you have enough faith that God is going to change that person, have faith that God will actually provide the person for you. Like, the one that is meant for you will be prepared. God is going to prepare him for you, and he will already know all the things that he has to do, because that is a man after God's own heart. And you don't want to have to beg God to change somebody's heart when God is preparing a man for you, and you're over here like, God, can you help change this guy, change that you're wasting your time. Because a man that is ready for you, God has prepared. Like he's ready for you. Like he's going to be literally ready for you. A guy that isn't ready is not for you. And if you're going to have to pray about it and say like, God, change him. And don't get me wrong, it's situational. There has been times where guys have converted, but it takes a very long time, and it comes with so much baggage and so much and so much pain. But I want to say most of the time, the man is gonna know like how to treat you and what to do and how to take care of you, how to provide and how to love you. You're not gonna have to beg him. You cannot make a man understand how to be a man, and you can't make a woman understand how to be a woman. You just know, because the Bible. You have to know the word of God to understand the roles of a husband and the roles of a wife.
Yeah, and that's something my sister's fiance said. He was like, you have to teach a man how to love you, because sometimes those things don't come naturally to a man. Even, and that lines up with the Bible. Husbands, love your wife. When God has to command something, it's because it's not natural for us. And same with women, respect your husbands. A lot of the times, like, we want to tell them how to do stuff, exactly. And like, no, you can't lead me, blah, blah, blah. But no, you shouldn't have to tell a man. You might have to tell a man how to love you, but you shouldn't have to tell a man how to be a man and like want to provide and want to take care of you and want to love you and make you feel secure, and to sit down with you and understand your emotions and your feelings, and to pray over you and to read your Bible together. And it's different when you're praying to God to strengthen someone who's already a believer and who has already given their life to God. Because that's not what we're saying. Like, if your boyfriend is willing, and they're trying, God had to work on you. It took me a long time to get to the point in my life where I am with God, and strengthening my faith over time. It took a lot of pruning. It took a lot of work. But now so that's the difference. If he's trying to do the same and he's on that same path, you also have to have grace. You also have to be patient. And if he's trying to do all the right things, but he's failing here, and here, that is your job as a woman, as a helper, to be a supporter, to encourage, and to speak life into that person. Speak like you are a king, you're strong, you're this, like, speaking life into them, not you do everything wrong and you're never going to please me and you're not treating me right. Like, that's only tearing a man down. And there's a proverb that says, a wise woman builds up her house, but a foolish woman tears it down. And how the tongue speaks life and death. We have so much power in our tongues and the things that we say to either tear someone up, build someone up, or to tear them down completely.
That was so good. I think that for sure I wasn't perfect when I met my fiance. Like, he gave me a lot of grace, and I would say that he never judged me. Like, he never made me feel horrible about what I was doing. He always called me out, but called me for higher. When I was hanging around people that weren't from God, and I was just not doing what God would want me to do, right? He would always tell me, like, Gaby, you're meant for so much more. You're meant for things of the Lord, for the King. Like, he would make me feel like I was set apart, like I was meant for something different. He never made me like, what is wrong with you? How dare you? Why are you wearing that? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, none of that. And I think that God was really like revealing to him that I was the one for him in a way. Like, I think it came with him, it was a lot of peace and a lot of assurance that I was the one. And he just really led me. Like, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, he really led me, and I submitted and I gave my life to the Lord. Like, I'm not saying it was just Ricky that led me to Lord, but like, God used him to lead me, and he was prepared to do that. And he knew how to say things. He knew how to make me feel like, okay, like, you know what, you're right. Like, he made me open my eyes instead of making me like, oh my gosh, I'm like horrible person and all these. No, he never made me feel bad about myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it says in the Bible, like, when you correct someone, do it with gentleness and respect. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have the peace in your heart where you're able to do those things, absolutely hang in there. Like, pray to God, like allow God to work. Sometimes you gotta duck so God can work or slap that person. Like, but they can't do it if you're in the way. Sometimes we're in the way. There's a statistic. I'm probably not going to get the statistic right completely, so just bear with me. You'll get the idea.
Yeah.
But like, if a relative brings, it's like a 10% chance that a relative will, like, the family will fall in line if a relative brings in like a brother or sister or like a cousin or something like that. And if it's a mom, it jumps up to 60%, and then their family will fall in line. But if the father establishes the Lord is the Lord of this house, in this house we worship the Lord, there's a 90% chance that the family is going to fall in line. Leadership is so important. And men, like most women, we're designed that way. We're designed to want to submit, but we cannot submit unless you're providing an environment to feel safe, to know, like, if you're submitted to Christ first, because that's how it should be, then I know wherever you're going to lead me, I can trust. I can trust where you're going to lead me. I can trust the things that you're going to teach me. I can entrust the environments that you're going to put me in. I can trust that you're not being led by your own knowledge or your own preferences or opinions. You're being led by the Lord because you are submitted under Christ. You know, Christ is the head of every home, and I can't submit to you, even no matter how much I want to submit to you. I'm not going to be able to. So, but if you work on being a proper leader, that's naturally going to happen. You won't have to ask your woman to do these things because she will want to.
No, that is so good. And I definitely do want to do an episode on the roles of like the Proverbs 31 and then the Ephesians 5 man, because I think it's really important, especially in a world that is so, so lost. And leading is like you said, it holds so much power. And a guy like who knows how to lead his family will lead them to the altar. The man is supposed to lead the family to the altar.
Why do you think dating has changed so much?
So let me pull out a list. I've actually been waiting for this question. Because Satan is the god of this world. And I think that everybody just dates to date. I feel like social media plays such a big role in this. And everybody has to be attractive or has to have a lot of money or has to, I don't know, like be beautiful, like absolutely stunning, and has to have all these standards. And I think that it's just the devil is the god of this world. So everybody's blinded to what is marriage. And what does the enemy want to do? He hates union. So he's going to tear it apart and he's going to try to destroy it. And you see that in America, the divorce rates are extremely high. I think they're about 75 now. They've passed the 50. Like and that's not funny, but like not me laughing. But it's like it's so high, and I feel like if you don't have God, and this might be a little controversial, like if you don't know God, then why? I feel like a lot of people don't understand marriage. It's like, why are you getting married? Because God is the one that created it. He created marriage. It's in the Bible. Like that's where it came. Yeah, it's literally from the word. Like he was the one that designed it. If you don't believe in God, what is the purpose? Everybody's dating to date. Everybody's having sex with whoever they want. There's no purpose in it. And I feel like everybody now has a different mindset. It's like, oh, I'm just going to sleep with this person for the rest of my life, but I'm not going to be committed, and I can do other things. But I want this person here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think exactly what you're saying, like society and oh my goodness, the movies that we watch. I was watching a movie that was from the 2000s. It's called, Bring It On. I was like, wow, I wasn't even born when this was a thing. And it was literally talking about like, her man moves off to college and they know what it is. Like, oh, when we move off to college, like, I'm going to go off to college, and I'm going to do whatever I want. And she was like, still loved him, but she allowed all these guys to get so close to her, and she ended up falling for someone when she has a man, and her man was sitting there cheating on her, and she knocked on his dorm. Yeah, knocked on the dorm room, and is like, literally, like he has another girl in the room. And in the very beginning of the movie, when she called, he had another girl in the room. Like, it's going to lead you astray if you look for dating advice. from these movies and this, because at the end the guy she like fell for out over her boyfriend, they stayed together and happily ever after, and now she has a man that loves her and cares for her. But that well runs dry when it's not rooted in God, because there's always going to be someone prettier. What about those tough times? You know, that person that you pursued that you knew nothing about, and now they're yours, and you're with them for 8 months, 9 months, and then you're like, wow, we have nothing in common.
Yeah.
Like, we don't agree with half these things. And that's why the Bible like warns us to look at character, because we're not called to date somebody's potential. We're called to date who they are, the person that they show you who they are.
Yes.
Like, and we don't need them, because I know I dealt with it so much. Like, the guys that they would be like, oh no, I love you. I love you so much, girl. I'll treat you right. I'll be the man for you. But I'm like, okay, you're telling me one thing, but your actions scream something else. Yeah, like, so look at their actions, look at their character, how they spend their time, the things that they listen to, the things that they even find like funny, you know, like all these like things that we look at. And it might be harsh if you're dating someone, especially if you're further along in your spiritual journey and like you're really close to God and they're not as close to God. A lot of the times they'll probably feel very like attacked or feel very judged. And that's why like you never want to make someone feel like that. That's literally like what I went through. Like I dated someone because I liked them so much, and I liked how they made me feel, and they made me smile, and they made me feel good, and it was fun hanging out with them. But down to the core, down to the foundation, it was so unstable, so rocky, because all I wanted to do was pursue Jesus and put Jesus first. And, you know, that wasn't his priorities. And nothing against him. Like, I still have the most love for him, but it's like, why would I want to make you feel so bad for who you are right now? Like, that is not, my job is not to change you. I feel like a lot of girls take on that, like, you know, I'm a builder girl. I'm going to build this man. I'm going to help him. I'm going to fix him. But no, like, you should know it's not. And like, God knows that person. Your job is to love that person, pray for that person, but also have boundaries and guard your heart, and to be wise and have discernment. Discernment is looking at a situation and knowing the outcome. You already know the ending. Like, I don't need to pray about something that God has so clearly put in my face, because it's right there in his word.
Yeah, and we can't start, like how you were saying about women really want to fix or build. That is God's job. That is not our job. And you already said that, but I wanted to reiterate that, because it's not our job. I say it again. Because it's not our job. That we're not builders, we're not fixers. We're supposed to like submit and be led. And if they can't do that, then they're not ready for you. I kind of want to talk a little bit about what to look for in dating, and kind of, because you mentioned about like who they hang around with and all these things. I think their company is so extremely important. Who they're consistently surrounded by, who their friends are. If their friends are going out on the weekends, hooking up with girls, drinking, smoking, whatever the case may be, watching porn, bad company will corrupt good character, and it will happen. If those are the people that he's running to for advice, if he's hanging out, she's like, yeah. If he's hanging around with them 24/7, I promise you, what is that one saying where it's like,
you're going to be the sum of the 3 people that you hang out with. Yeah.
So if that's how the 3 people, he's the 4th one. Like, I'm not even joking. I thought I had a boyfriend where I was trying to be the cool girlfriend, like not letting anything really happen, like not letting anything really offend me or to make me feel bad, but deep down inside I was crying. He had friends that went to strip clubs, went to clubs. They would go out, drink, smoke, all these things, and they would talk about porn a lot, like all their favorite people on porn. And I'm getting real like specific, but it's true, because I'm gonna call y'all out, like if you guys are talking to people or guys that are like that. And I promise you that relationship was so short-lived because of that. I was like, oh, he's not like that, like he's different. I'm not gonna shame his friends, that's who he loves and cares about. No, I promise you, he ended up being the 4th one. And it hurt me, because I was like, I was in denial. And you can't, like, if that's who he's friends with, I promise you, like, it's very, very, very rare for a man to not be like them, because bad company corrupts good character.
That is so true. And, you know, you don't want to date two different people.
Yeah.
You don't want a man that is going to be, or a woman, this goes both ways. You don't want a partner that is going to act like you a certain way, that says like, oh, my partner doesn't like this kind of music, doesn't like it when I talk like this, or doesn't like it when it's like, it doesn't honor God in this way. And they're an angel around you. But the second that they're not around you, that they're, you know, cursing up a storm, talking about girls, looking around, like that means that who are you behind closed doors? You will literally end up dating two different people. And again, if you don't get that hard stuff like out in the beginning, what are your morals? What are your foundation? Like, what do you believe? Like, you're gonna end up wasting so much time, because it's just what starts quick ends quick. You know, so if I start something quick off of emotions without knowing someone or anything like that, it's gonna be short lived. What starts quick ends quick. And
it's so true. That's exactly what happened. I was so high on my emotions and how much this person was so fun. It lasted 4 months. Like, it was so bad.
Yeah. And that's why it's just like, you know, if you don't want it to end quick, like, go back to the green flags, courting. It's supposed to be something like, if I like this girl, or if I like this guy, I'm going to take my time. I want to actually build a foundation. I don't want to have to rush into sex, like, or anything like that. I want him to be the kind of guy that takes me on dates and will bring me flowers, and who wants to just Bible study together, doesn't want to be alone in my bedroom, doesn't want to Netflix and chill. Because the man that is supposed to love you isn't even going to see your body. Like, he should be fine not seeing that, because that's how you know someone's priorities are straight. And and
I think that if they're teachable, I think being teachable is very, very important, because if you come to that person and you can't tell them how you feel, and they don't want to understand it, they make you feel bad, I think that's a definite like red flag. I think that if somebody's not teachable, then they're not going to, that's just pride. And it's going to really hurt a relationship. We've talked about it. If you want to know more about pride, we have a whole episode about it. But pride is one of the most deadliest sins. It's the most heartbreaking. You really can damage a lot of people with pride. So if you have pride and you can go to somebody and tell them how you feel, and they make you feel bad and not change or be teachable, then that person that's like a red flag.
Yeah, I don't think that you can truly say that you love someone and you're not willing to hear them, and you're not willing to see like their viewpoint on things. Because even if you don't agree with someone, you should be trying to put yourself in their shoes, so you can at least try to understand their perspective. Because 9 out of 10 times when you really try to listen and you really try to understand, like, you guys can come to a conclusion where you guys can at least compromise and at least try to figure out like a middle ground. And but it takes willingness to hear and willingness to understand. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's very important. In a relationship, you're gonna have to listen to each other and hear each other out. There's gonna be times where it's gonna be really tough, and if they can't hear you out and in a way compromise of things that they're doing that you don't like, then that's just not it.
They should be able to love when they don't like, because we're all called to love when we don't like. And that means that I'm not gonna walk away from you. I'm not gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna talk down to you or curse at you because I don't like understand what you're saying. They should have a willingness to want to hear you, want to understand you. And I feel like walking away is so messed up in a relationship. Yeah, like you're running from your problems. You're being a coward. Like, I know it's kind of harsh to say that word, coward, but I think that is very cowardice, that you can't sit there and at least say, or at least lead like men and women, like, hey, we need 5 minutes to calm down, and then we can come and address the situation. But I love you, and I care about you, and everything's gonna be fine, and we're gonna get through this. I feel like so many relationships would be saved just by that.
Just communication and not letting your ego go. Like, okay, like, I understand we're both angry right now. I'm gonna say things, and I don't want to hear you out, and I'm aware of that. So give me a moment to just calm down. and then we can come back together, but we're fine. I love you. Everything's going to be okay. We can work this out. But if you're the type of person not trying to hear the other person out, you're making them feel bad for even feeling that way, then it's just not going to work out and you're not teachable. And that's why God says you have to have a childlike faith so you can be teachable. And that's letting your ego go, like letting your pride go. And you have to do that with the Lord and also with your family and those around you.
That's so good.
Yeah, I think another one would be if they have a serving heart. I said it earlier today, but if you're with somebody that says like, oh, I hate people, like I don't want to do that, I don't care, like, that's like the waitress's job to do this, or like that's the maid's job if you're at a hotel and like they don't want to like help out, make things easier for somebody. That I can't express it enough. Like a serving heart is loving. It's putting that person and others over yourself. It's being selfless. And the moment you start serving others, you start experiencing so much love. You start realizing, you just start experiencing true life, I feel like, and true love and true purpose.
I feel like God, the design for marriage and relationships is to truly learn how to sacrificially serve. And when you walk into a relationship, it shouldn't be like, how can this person serve me? It should be, if two people are willing to sacrificially serve, like even in friendships, like if I'm like, how can I serve you better, Gabby? And you're like, how can I serve you better, Ariana? Like it's going to be such a wonderful, easy going friendship because we're truly like love each other. I want to make your life easier. You want to make my life easier. Same goes for your romantic relationships. Like we shouldn't have this list like, oh, my man has to do this, my man has to do that, my man has to do this. It's like, we both want to love and help each other. And there's going to be areas where you're weaker and there's going to be areas where I'm weaker. So you're going to fill in my weaknesses with your strength, and I'm going to fill in your weaknesses with my strength. And then now we have a great dynamic duo. I love that. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's Christ-centered. Christ-centered. Christ came to serve and not to be served. It's the same concept. So
that is so beautiful. I love that so much. I really do feel like we do a good job at communicating and like just being good friends, like doing what God has called us to do. And I feel like you have to do that in a relationship, in all relationships in your life, not just with your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, like in all relationships, and just serving others, having a heart for people and making, like, just being a representation of Jesus. And I think that's what we're called for. Not that I know that's what we're called for. So I think that's a big one, if they have a serving heart. If they have wandering eyes. I think if you have wandering eyes and so you're like going to the mall with your man or the guy that you're talking to and seeing if you want to date him, if you catch him looking at other girls, checking them out, that's a red flag because he's not focused on you. He's looking at his options, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, about having options and all these other things. But if your man has a wandering eye or your girl has a wandering eye, that's definitely a red flag. And that's something you really have to either talk to them about, or it's just going to bring so many problems. It's going to create so many problems.
Yeah, to me, that's like a clear sign that you don't, first of all, love me, honor me, or respect me. And those are key ingredients to a healthy relationship. Because why am I going to look everywhere else when you're the gift that God gave me with and you're something that God blessed me with? That's pretty much saying that you're not enough and I'm just with you until something better comes along.
Yeah.
And that's already like, and the thing is, some people are like that and we think like, oh my gosh, I lost that person.
Yeah, it's like, how do I?
And they're doing that to the girl that they picked. Like, and until they have the same heart, like that it's a heart issue. Yes. And you can clearly tell when someone's heart is off because they don't know respect. Like I used to be all like, oh, boys are so cute. Guys are so cute. Never really in my relationships because I've always had like a level of like loyalty. Yeah. But the older I got and the more I started to understand God, like I talked about it a while ago, but when I even think that a guy might be attractive, I look down, like I look away, like I don't even want to give my mind the opportunity. I'm already creating that boundary so I don't disrespect you and dishonor you because I love you. I don't want to hurt you.
Exactly. And that's how it should be. Our heart posture is so important. And I think that, for example, my fiance gets made fun of a lot at the station because he doesn't have wandering eyes. And
that's a good man.
That's a good man. But so they will show him like, or try to show him Instagrams of girls that are like gorgeous, and he's just like, I don't want to look at it. There's no reason for me to look. I already have the one that I want. Like, there's no reason for that. And he will get made fun of. And these are like firefighters, and they're like really harsh with their words and everything. And they'll even text me like, your fiance is so weird, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, that's just how a man should be. Like, it's literally just like,
they're hating on him, and you're like, baby, I'm gonna cook you a good meal, or I'm gonna give you a massage. I know,
and it's like not conforming to the patterns of this world. And that's another one. You have to like see if the guy that you're talking to is he conforming to the patterns of this world just because he's getting made fun of because of the pressure of it. Ricky literally like won't look at like anything, and if they try or any like he just like he will go through like being made fun of instead of like looking at it because he just doesn't he's like a man of God. Like, that's all I can say. Like, he's just so strict about his boundaries. Like,
yeah. And I mean, let's talk about a little bit of what else you said, like the Instagram thing. How do you feel when, you know, what do you think about guys who follow a bunch of girls that are like model or bikini models just posting very provocatively?
No. Red flag.
Period. Straight to jail.
Yeah, straight to jail. Whenever one of my girlfriends are like, oh, this guy is like talking to me, or like I'm interested in him, and I go look at his following, and he's following hundreds and hundreds of girls of like just showing off their bodies, and immediately red flag. Like, don't even try to pursue, because he's looking and looking and looking and looking, and he's gonna want you, but he's also gonna want somebody else. And these are the guys that will continue to look until they're 40, and then they're at the clubs talking about wanting marriage when all they're doing is looking and never pursuing.
Yeah, I think you definitely become desensitized. And to me, I think that's kind of like a clear indicator that you struggle with lust. And sin is categorized into three main categories: the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and then the pride of life. So if you have a lustful heart, you know, and that desensitized thing, you know, why did our grandparents stay together for so long? It's because they didn't have a phone where they were scrolling and looking at butt after butt after butt and boobs and bodies and this and that. Like if someone is with you and intimate with you, and they're thinking about all these other things, and they're constantly comparing, like, you know, godliness plus contentment equals great gain. If you can't even be content with the gifts that you got, and you're already trying to look for more, or you're greedy for more, or you're hungry or lustful for more, like, you're guaranteed not going to have a happy relationship. So the flip side of that, if he's saying, you know, I'm going to use you, if he's like, Gabby, no, you're the one. I know I want to be with you, and I have unfollowed every single girl that I don't personally know, or that isn't my friend, because I don't think you need to have no girls there. But if they're posting provocatively or anything like that, like, and you shouldn't even have to ask. Like, if like they know and they're a man, they're gonna be like, I already know that this is wrong, and these girls are gone. If you are in a relationship and you tell your man like, hey, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this girl that you follow, or you have like a lot of girl followings, and they're not immediately wanting to do something about it to help your heart and to help your peace and to make you feel secure and comfortable, they don't really like you. They don't really love you. Yeah. And it's just that simple.
And point blank period. Like, there's nothing more to say about that, because it's so important. Again, those guys, they will continue to look and look and look, and they're either going to settle on a woman that is probably extremely beautiful, but they're going to make their lives miserable because all they care about is money, superficial things, and they were provocative. They're showing off their bodies. They don't care about anything else. Yeah. Or they're going to end up lonely at the age of 40. And I've seen it myself.
I've seen it happen too.
And I'll, like, whenever I was, you know, in my prodigal season, and I would go out, and like, there's 40-year-old men literally saying, I want to settle down and get married and have a girl, and I just can't find one. They're at the club surrounded in sections with girls that are like 21 years old, and they're 40. It's like, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to be very transparent. And if your man is not gonna unfollow, like you're saying, he's not your man. Like, he's just not for you, because a man will take your feelings in account. He'll take what you're saying and want to do something about it. I keep bringing Ricky, but it's...
Hey, Ricky should be on the show right now.
Literally, he went... Before we even started dating, unfollowed all the girls that he used to talk to, all the thing, like every girl that like he didn't even have a connection with, unfollowed. And I'm not saying you can't follow any single girl. Like, no, it's the girls that you think that would bring or make me feel uncomfortable by anything. So if your man isn't doing that, and I promise you, there are men that do that. Yeah. There are men out there. I think a lot of girls are like, oh, it's just so hard. Like, there's no guys out there, all this stuff. No, I promise you there is. Yeah. There is.
I think another red flag is, I think a lot of us are, I know at least what I hear. Me, I've never been this way. I've always wanted to be married young. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't want to be married young. And then they get to that age like you're talking about. And all the good ones are already gone. Mm-hmm. And like things are already you lost your chance. Yeah. Like, and even if you did get that girl, you wouldn't know how to love her. You wouldn't know how to take care of her because you spent all this time not being a man or not being a woman that you should be. So now like your options are like so scarce. It's like that needle in a haystack. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it. So focus now. That's what we're designed for. We are relational beings. God created us to be relational. But it's in a way that is holy and pure and loving and not taking advantage of people, not using your time for the wrong use, not taking advantage of people to be comfortable. Like all of these things need to be addressed and grow through them and find accountability. Like that's someone that's going to, like your friends, like Gaby was talking about, like your friends should be able to say like, hey, that's not healthy. That's not good. If you're going where your itching ears want to go and like they're just gonna tell you it's fine to look at that girl, bro, she's being crazy, like she's not, like she's just worked up, like I don't know why she's all crazy and you're having like an anxiety attack. And it's like, because dude, look at your life, look at how you're living, look at how you're treating me and talking to me.
And I think the same thing goes with like dating apps. Like and don't get me wrong, there has been people that have gotten married through dating apps, but this goes the same thing. Like you're looking and looking and looking, you have all these options, and I promise you the more you look, the more you're not going to find. You're just going to keep thinking that the next one is the one for you, and then the one that God has for you is probably 4 girls ago, and you're still continuing to look. And again, like you said, you're not preparing yourself to be a man or to be a woman. And once you actually get that person that is for you, you're not prepared for it. Yeah,
I feel like it really shows kind of too like a lack of faith. Like I had to realize that when I was just dating, like, like I would always find myself in a relationship. And it was my lack of faith that God would provide in that area of my life. Yeah. It was that. And like what I've been through, it's really sad to say it, but until like this year, like I never really met a good man, like a genuinely good man who cares and who wants to protect and provide and like be generous and like love and, work hard and diligent. Like, so I didn't really believe that they're out there, but they are. And I know that they're out there. And I know if you have faith in God and you know that God is going to provide, because he is the provider, he's God of provision, that he knows what's in your heart. And if you're asking for things that align with his will, he is more than happy to give it to you. But in his timing, it is not your timing. His timing is perfect. Yes. So if you're in that single season and you are waiting, don't rush, don't be desperate, don't run into anything because of these feelings, because that area that you feel weak, that area that you feel like God isn't showing up, in your weakness, God's power is made perfect. So that area that you feel that tension in is most likely the area that God wants to show up the most. And he is preparing you. We have to cook, he has to do the pruning, and he has to add, and he has to take away, and he has to make you that man or woman that when he gives you that gift. I heard this thing one instance, and it's like, as a loving father, my 14-year-old daughter, she wants the keys to the car so bad. Please, Dad, give me the keys, give me the keys, give me the keys. But if I love you and I'm a loving father, why would I give my 14-year-old the keys to the car? That's not being loving. Same way with the blessings that we want. Like if I'm asking for something and it's not the right time, what would have happened? That child would have ran and got in a car accident, got a ticket, hurt themselves. Same thing. If God gives us the blessings that we're not prepared for, they're going to slip right through our fingers.
Mm-hmm. And I think that something that you're saying about single season, like the single season is so, so important. And if you are like the type of person, it's like everybody's getting married around me, everybody's getting engaged, everybody's dating, and you feel left out, do not let your impatience lead you to settle for someone who is not for you. Okay, if you have that list and you have like he's teachable, he's all these things, and he's cute, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that, but like,
but cute.
so it's like, you know, you have a list and it's all these things, but the one that is not checked out is that he loves Jesus. But he has all these things. He's a really good man. He loves his family. He treats everybody else with respect, everything. But the last box is, and it's not checked off, he doesn't love Jesus. He doesn't know Jesus. Don't let your impatience just settle for that, because I promise you, you're not weighing everything. You're not realizing all the problems that will come with you just settling for a man that doesn't believe in Jesus just because you want to get married, because you want to feel loved. Because I promise you, when things get hard and it's time to have faith and he doesn't have any faith, it's going to get so hard. When it's time for prayer, he's not going to understand it. When it's time to teach your kids certain things, he's not going to understand it. And he's going to be right behind you undoing everything that you were trying to teach your kids because he doesn't understand it. And I promise you, just because he's a good man, just because he loves his family, everything does not mean a good man cannot get you that far. A man of God will love you like how God loves us. Yeah. And he will try to mimic God's love. He will pray for you. He'll be your prayer warrior. He'll have faith. He'll lead you. But a man that's just a good man is just a good man. It's not going to lead you to anywhere.
Yeah, a godly man will run the race marked out with you. Exactly. You know, and I think too, like, it's a man's job. We hear protector all the time, but sometimes it's that protection from the unseen. You know, like, I can't be with a man who leaves the door wide open for the enemy to come into our home. Like, if the devil can get to the man, then he gets to the wife and the children. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, he is the cover. He is the first line of defense. And a woman's job is to be making sure that he is equipped and to be praying for him and loving him and strengthening him. That's so why we don't tear down too. But if he already doesn't have that faith, exactly what you're saying, he doesn't even know what he's fighting against. He doesn't even know there's a battle. He doesn't even know there's a war. He doesn't even understand sin and flesh and that they're constantly against each other. And when you're struggling, again, like when you're saying like, hey, I don't want to listen to these things or watch these things because I know what God says, and you guys will end up fighting each other instead of fighting the real enemy.
Because he's not going to understand why you don't want to listen to secular music, or he's not going to understand why you don't want to watch that movie that has certain things that you don't want to watch. He's not going to understand it. So it's like those things that you want to get better at with your walk with God, and he's going to, again, come undoing everything that you're trying to do because he doesn't understand it. So I promise you, the single season is to work on yourself and your relationship with God. And don't look around what everybody has. If they're getting engaged, if they're getting married, or if they're dating. No, because you're going to let your impatience lead you to settle for a man that is not for you. And if all the boxes are checked, then the last one is he doesn't love Jesus, I promise you, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and jealousy and looking around, it's a disease. It kills. It comes to take your joy. It comes to steal from you. It comes to take from you. Yeah. And those seasons where it's just you and God is for you to practice your dependency. Yeah. Sometimes it is just you and God. And sometimes God won't bring you that person until you are content with him. Yeah. Because if you don't realize where the blessing came from, I think about Abraham and Isaac. You know, if God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac because does he believe in where the promise comes from? You know, if he didn't give up Isaac, that means he found an idol in the blessing, you know, but where does the blessing come from? Sometimes God has to know where your heart is. He does already know where your heart is. Yeah. And if you're not willing to give things up because of something that you think and because of your lack of faith, he won't be able to bless you with the rest of the things that he wants. Because if you're not faithful with the little bit that God has given you, you're not going to be faithful with the big things. And God knows your heart. God knows how you think and where you're at in your walk with him. And if you trust him the way we should be trusting him.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it's so true. It's everything here is true. We're so funny.
So
Last thing.
Another hot topic. So, Gabby, another hot topic.
The mic is hot.
Bring it.
What do you think about when people have like work husbands, work wives, or they don't even think that they do, but it's kind of obvious that they do?
Yeah. What are you doing?
No. Straight to jail again.
Straight to jail. Like, no. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That is a lack of disrespect. You should not be giving anybody any inclination that you're interested when you have a wife, a husband, or girlfriend, or boyfriend. Again, when I said in the beginning, just because you're not married doesn't mean you can go around and disrespect people. You do not do that. I think it's one of the most disrespectful things you can do to the person that you're with, because you're making somebody else feel special. Do you understand what it feel like? You know, when girls are like, oh, like, this guy liked my picture and something, that feeling that you get when a girl likes your picture, I mean, a guy likes your picture and they have a girl and they're good, like, oh my gosh, you know, like, we know how girls are. We know how girls are, and they're like, ooh, she has a man and like he's liking my pics or stuff.
And you look silly.
You look silly.
For the lack of, I was going to say something else. No, and it's so true and I think it's just a matter of time till you keep opening the door for that person. Yeah. And one step at a time, they're going to come in the way of your relationship.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. And the reason why it's a work wife or a work husband and your actual husband don't know about it is because you know you'll be in trouble if he knows about it. It's because you know you're doing something wrong. And it's disrespectful. It's definitely where is your heart posture?
Yeah.
What are your intentions? It goes back. What are your intentions?
Yeah. And if you're justifying it and you're saying, oh, it's so innocent, it's fine, that means that you're probably not right with the Lord either. And you're not being convicted by God. Yeah. Because your partner is one of the most important things, one of the most important gifts that you can have. That's the person that is going to take the time to bear through those hard times with you, to raise your children with you, to go towards all the stress. And that's why I feel like a lot of people have work wives or work husbands, or just people that, oh, they're my friend. And it's because that person you aren't going through the heaviness with. Yeah. So it's like, oh, breath of fresh air, but it's like, no. This is a lie. You're literally it is God, because the enemy will send people too. The enemy will send, even if this goes for if you're single and you're in your single season, like the enemy will send someone that checks all the boxes besides the one that needs to be checked. Do they love God more than they love you? Yeah. And like if they don't know that, then it's from the enemy. Yeah. And it will destroy.
It's so important to not fall for those little temptations. It goes back, have self-control, be obedient to the Lord. And I think it goes the same thing with having girl and guy friends. Yeah. Like, for me, if I know that my guy friend has a girlfriend, I will put them both in a chat for respect. Yes. Respect. It's respect. Like, you don't just... I'm not going to sit there and have a deep conversation with a guy and going back and forth. And I'm not going to text a guy after 9 p.m. Like, I cut it at that. And even then, like, I'm very dry. Like, I'm very dry when I am texting, because I never want to give any inclination that I'm interested in somebody. I never want to give anybody the mixed feeling, or because I love my fiance so much that I'm not going to put him in that. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where it can look bad and people can start talking about it.
Definitely. And I think I think you said it right there, going back and forth. Like, for me, if I'm in a relationship and someone does reach out to me, that's guy, first I always want to make sure, like, my partner like knows about it, you know, and then, like, you are not going to catch me making plans. You're not going to catch me going back and forth. Like, hey, like, okay, what's up? Like, do you need something? Like, or okay, that's fine. And, you know, making sure, like, I feel like now I've heard, like, pastors say this, like, if it's a woman that needs advice, he will literally say, oh, man, that's hard. Let me get you to talk to my wife. Wow. You know, good. Same thing. Like, if it's a guy, like, I can't talk to, guy friends, when they try to talk to me about certain things, I'm like, hey, look, like, I can't talk to you about this. It is just immediately disrespectful to even talk to you about this topic. And I want to make sure that my man feels respected and my man feels honored. So if you need to talk to anybody, find some men that you can trust, that are going to, like, give you good advice. But I'm not the one to talk to you about this. Or even, like, you know, here, like, maybe you should text my boyfriend, like, and figure out, like, but I can't be the one. And that boundary is already set. And same with like being alone with them. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you hanging out with them?
No, that's immediate. No, I always, whenever Billy Graham, and I love Billy Graham. Whenever he would go on the crusades, him and his friends had like the Billy Graham rule, and one of the rules was that they can never be alone in a room with another woman, because what is the reason? And you have to set the boundaries. Like, if you know you're gonna like tempt, or you're gonna be tempted and you're prone to fall into that temptation, don't even set a strict boundary. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna go there. I'm just not gonna. It's not gonna happen. And it's fine to have guy friends, but I feel like to an extent, like your man should be the first one you should go to, and you shouldn't be confiding in another guy to give you what your husband should be giving you, or what God should be giving you, or what your girlfriend should be giving you. Guy friends, like, it's cool and all, but like once you're dating and once you're
courting,
like you should really put up some strict boundaries. And if the guy doesn't, like, your guy friends don't respect that
shows
that exactly
they are.
Exactly. And it's such a messy like topic. I feel like it's like a hot topic, but that's where like feelings happen. You start confiding in someone and you start telling them like, oh, my boyfriend is doing this and all this stuff. No, go to your boyfriend for that. Go to your boyfriend about your girlfriends or your girlfriends and tell them. Or wise counsel. If you have a problem, go and you are seeking advice, go to wise counsel. People that have gone through life dealing with things like this. Or your girlfriends. Don't go to another guy to confide, especially in things about you and your relationship with your boyfriend or husband. This is not it's just not a thing.
Yeah, and it'll save you from so much. And I know that for a fact. There's I used to listen to 50 Cent a lot.
Yeah.
I used to love 50 Cent.
Yeah.
When I got convicted of it, I still love him, but I don't listen to him because I want to honor God. But there's that song 21 Questions, and it's just like that. I don't think I'm going to get the words right, but it's saying like, if you heard that one thing, is that all it takes for us to be done? Wow. You know, like, are you going to believe them? Is that all it takes? But like, I want to be at a point where someone's like, oh, you know, I heard your girl, like, I heard Ariana was doing that. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. I have so many boundaries. I wasn't alone with the guy. I wasn't talking to the guy. I wasn't on the phone with the guy. I wasn't doing anything like that. And it makes you have a clear conscience. And then now there's no witnesses against you. And, you know, a good name is better than a good perfume. You know, having good character, knowing how people see you, and people won't even try you anymore. Most of the time, girls or guys should not feel comfortable enough to be in your phone. Yeah. You know, and if they feel comfortable enough to text you and to talk to you, that's most likely you are putting out a person. And, you know, I am a very like nice and bubbly and kind person. And I had to recognize that about myself, because I kept realizing that like people think I like them. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
I'm the same way. Yeah. I'm a very bubbly person. Yeah. I was so nice to everybody. And then guys would be taken. Like,
she wants me.
Like, no, literally, like, no, she wants me. And I'm like, oh,
I just said hello. What?
We have.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you know, have your boundaries. No, don't validate anybody else's feelings. You know, have those boundaries. And then, you know, I feel like that will really help you, especially in Christian dating.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to talk about dating Christians, if that makes sense. I think that a lot of girls feel like they should date a man just because he's Christian and not because they truly like them. I think that for example, if you're not attracted to him and you're only dating him because he's a Christian girl, you have to want to be with them and to love them and be attracted to them. And another thing is like looking at their purpose and their calling. Yeah. If they are meant to be a pastor, but you're called to do missionary. And although you guys are compatible, you guys really love each other, that union just can't happen, because you're going to be in like Africa or India and he's going to be trying to hold down a church. And so it's really, you have to make sure that the person you're with them because you guys have a calling and a purpose that you guys can do together, and he can pour into you and to lead you, and that you're able to like kind of support him. Exactly. And so it's just a lot of things that just because he's Christian does not mean you have to date him.
Yeah, make sure you pray about it. I feel like God will give you that yes or no, because God's always speaking, and you'll see it in the fruit. And sometimes you have to let good people that you really like, really care about, or really want go, because it's exactly what you're saying, that they're not going to the same place that God is calling you to go. Mm-hmm. And God does know the desires of your heart. Like, I completely agree that you should genuinely be attracted to the person that you're with, because you don't ever want to force yourself to like somebody or force yourself to be with somebody. Especially, that just shows that your heart's not in the right place either, and that you're kind of settling for something that God doesn't want you to have.
Like, if you guys are not getting called to the same place and you try to compromise that, you're kind of like pulling each other away from your calling. Mm-hmm. So as hard as that is, sometimes God has somebody else for you, and you just because a Christian does not mean that person is for you.
That's so good. I really love this episode so much. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you have future topics that you want us to talk about, put it in the comments, and we're going to make sure that we address everything and that we get to everybody's questions and topics.
This conversation was so amazing. I loved it. And again, if you guys want to support us, it's going to be a link in the description if you want to donate and help us out. Bye guys.
Have a great week.